You want it to make you think, you want it to make you feel. What matters is that we talk about it. So many issues and so many sides. What do you think? Welcome to 6:30, and tonight we're talking about saving lives, regardless of whether you think morally it's the right thing to do or not. We're also discussing recovery and listening to your questions and your stories tonight. We invite you to text us 501-376-1111. Ask us anything you want about substance use disorders, recovery. But first, this. Do you know what this is? It comes in a red case. It's called Opioid Overdose Naloxone Kit. Do you know how to use it? I opened it right now. It is a small white thing that saves lives. Do you know how to get one? Do you know that under one Arkansas program, it's actually saved nearly one life a day over the past year? It's called Narcan. It's an antidote that can help restore a person's breathing in an overdose of opioid drugs. The Office of State Drug Director Kirk Lane has been working to make it easier and easier for Arkansans, especially those working in law enforcement, to get access to Narcan. It's because substance use disorder can strike any kind of person, whether their age, financial status, or background, their personality, their station in life. Opioid misuse in particular can make people feel out of control. What could start as a valid prescription for pain can escalate and spiral. So we asked Director Lane exactly why his office has this program.
You know, defeating the stigma, making people understand that this issue really need to be looked at through a medical lens instead of a moral lens. A lot of times arrest of a person for possession of a controlled substance is that point in their life or that point of that disease that they seek help. But a lot of times what we're finding as an overdose can be just as effective as an arrest of making that person realize that, hey, I need treatment or I'm gonna die.
So for some people, this is a totally different way of looking at substance problems. And that is why we want to give you the chance to bring your questions about recovery to an expert. Joining me here is Kyle Brewer. He works at UAMS. Kyle, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
He's also a peer support specialist, and that means that he helps people with recovery, and it means that he's in recovery himself.
Absolutely, so I've been in recovery for about 2.5 years from opioids. Very much the story that you were telling. It started with a prescription and progressed to heroin. But thankfully my story ended with recovery instead of what's happening a lot of times around the state.
You know the ins and outs of this process. How difficult was it for you to find the help that you needed?
Well, I guess there was always help if I wanted it. I just had to reach that place in my own journey where I had hit a bottom that was sufficient enough for me to reach out for help.
Now, while I'm talking to Kyle, I want to give this number again, 501-376-1111. If you have a question for Kyle, he can help answer this, or a question or story that you want to share, please send it in now. Okay, Narcan has saved 366 lives since January 6th of last year, just as part of this partnership with the Criminal Justice Institute and law enforcement. That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's nearly one a day.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's really an incredible, staggering statistic that you just keep people alive long enough to maybe get to that place that I got to and reach out for help.
Did you need this?
I never had this myself. Thankfully, I never was able to have that administered to me. But I certainly know many people that are in recovery today, and it started with being revived with Narcan.
And they're leading lives and working and are part of society.
Yes, self-directed lives of, with full of purpose and full of meaning and contributing members of society.
Would you advise everyone have one of these?
Oh, absolutely. I keep this in my vehicle. You never want to come across this, but the reality is that it's in the community and you're very likely to. So I think it should be just a normal thing that's in the household or in the vehicle.
You know, people say, not in my house, not in my neighborhood, not here in my community. But the reality is we're one of the worst states in the nation for opioid overdose and abuse. Yeah,
and so as you referenced, I work in the emergency department at UAMS and see this all the time, individuals coming in for opioid or fentanyl overdose. And so whether we recognize it's in the community or not, it's very much there.
It's very much there. Some people have had kind of unkind things to say about this, like why, if they're doing this to themselves, for example. But I don't think people often understand that this is a disease that we're talking about, and the drugs alter your thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just about a moral choice or bad decisions. The addiction is very much a disease that affects the brain, and it's progressive. It could be deadly. It could be fatal. And so when you're in the middle of that, even though everything's telling you not to continue to use, the disease has a hold of you, and you continue to do things that you normally wouldn't do.
Kyle, you are so brave to come on our show tonight to share your story. Thank you. You're going to stay with us.
Yes.
And if you have a question for him or anything else that you want to share with us, 501-376-1111. Again, he's a peer support specialist. We have been receiving questions from all of you, and we appreciate it so much. And we're going to just start one by one, and Kyle's going to help answer some of these questions. What first got you into recovery?
What first got me into recovery was, like I mentioned earlier, 2.5 years ago, I'd hit a bottom, and what that looked like for me was I was homeless. I was in a drug-induced psychosis, and I ended up in the emergency department here in Little Rock. And so that's what started my journey. It didn't really start with a huge desire to change, but it started with my circumstances and the pain outweighing the pleasure of what I was doing. And so that's what kind of began my journey.
Was your family here too?
They had went to Al-Anon and learned about enabling, and so my family never gave up on me, but they learned to let go and kind of let me, suffer the consequences. And so the moment that I turned for help, they were there. They were a part of my support team and very much a part of my life today. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without them.
All right, Kyle, wow. More questions coming in that we want to share with you right now. What's the best way to confront a friend about drug use?
The best way to confront a friend about drug use, I would say to just meet them where they're at, whatever that looks like for the friend, to just meet them where they're at, to be someone that is listening ear sometimes, not to be judgmental or, to make them feel that as if you're trying to tell them what to do. What I find is that when the individual comes up with a plan on their own, they're best likely to execute the plan. So I think just meeting them wherever they're at in the process and just kind of helping them kind of figure out what options are best for them in their situation. I
mean, can you say though, hey, you've got a problem, you need help?
Well, there does come a point where you can be what's called a truth teller. I find that sometimes that may do the opposite effect though. That may cause the person to go further than what you're than what the goal you're trying to accomplish. And what I try to do is just be there, and it ultimately comes down to the individual making a choice that they want to do something different. And you don't enable, but you're there when they're ready to turn and ask for help.
All right, more questions coming in. We appreciate this so much, and hopefully it's helping someone out there right now. Hello, my name is Sunday. I'm a recovering addict. I was wondering how I could get a career helping others. I feel it's my calling to be able to help others, which is somewhat what you're doing. I know you said you work in the emergency room, but you also have peer support work.
Yeah, so I'm a peer support specialist in the emergency department. And so, across the state, there's just been some incredible opportunities that have developed for peer support for people with lived experience in recovery to do exactly what she was asking about, to take the things that you've gone through in the past and turn them around and put purpose behind them to help others. And so there are opportunities out there. Peer support specialists, simply could Google that, and there's trainings that take place around the year. And then just being involved in recovery is about helping others. When you go through the process yourself, you turn around and help others go through that process. And so I would say find a place to get involved. Whatever fellowship, 12-step fellowship or recovery group that you want to be involved in, to just be involved there and help people that are coming through those doors, because it's all around and there's plenty of opportunities to help people.
Kyle, I know someone else wrote in about stigma and embarrassment. There is still a stigma attached to this. What would you tell families out there that know they need to reach out for help, but they don't because they're embarrassed, or what would people think of their family name? This happens so often. Yes,
and unfortunately that's very true, that we deal with the stigma that comes along with addiction. And what I would say to that is to know that you're not alone, and that there are more people than you know that are struggling and fighting the same battle. And the only way to get through it is to be open and honest and address it. And that what you'll find when you do that, there are people that will come around you and support you. And for me, I may not have grown up with the typical story of what made people think would be a drug addiction or even look like someone that's had that past. But today, that's very much my story. And nobody is exempt from suffering from the disease of addiction. It can happen to anybody from any level of society, socioeconomic status. And so I think just embracing that and being willing to step out there, you'll find that there's more support than there is stigma in the state, I believe.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Because of you coming on, speaking publicly, hopefully this helped.